What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris, man. Another episode of the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I got a special guest today. She is an in-game and digital host for the Texas Rangers. Her name is Hannah Wing. She is also a University of Southern California alum, and she's been a dear friend of mine for a while now. We've been staying in touch with each other. We're gonna talk about her why she got into sports, what she does for the Texas Rangers, and also who she is outside of her occupation, baby. Like I said, this is the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast with your boy CD, Christopher Drummond. Without any further ado, I'm gonna bring her on to the show, baby. Here we go, Miss Hannah Wayne. Hey, how you doing, Hannah?
I am good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's about time that we linked up because it's been a minute that we've been going back and forth trying to get each other. Our schedules have been
I
crazy.
know. I'm so sorry. And thanks for your patience. I mean, baseball season's nuts, and then I try and travel when the team's gone. So I'm glad it worked out. Thank you again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get started, gotta ask the obvious. One, how are you and your family doing during these pandemic times? And two, how was your past Halloween weekend?
Great questions. So sweet of you to ask. So my family's doing great. Gosh, I actually just saw them in California, so it was really awesome to spend some time with them. Luckily, throughout the pandemic, we've all been a-okay. I went home to California for 6.5 weeks during, gosh, it was last March, and I was there for about 6.5 weeks. So just got a lot of really great family quality time, and they're all happy and healthy. So that's all I can ask for. And Halloween was fun. Didn't actually do anything for Halloween. I was back in California and I did USC homecoming and spent time with family and friends. So nothing too crazy for Halloween, but it was nice to be in California. What about you?
Well, my family, knock on wood, everybody's vaccinated. We're kind of spread out. I'm also from California, from San Diego, California. Um,
Nice.
so I have family out there. I actually just was in California last week. I was in LA from October 26th to the 29th for a career fair, and I was also visiting some family, so I
Awesome.
was out there as well in California. But yeah, everybody's doing good. Didn't really do much for
Good.
Halloween because I had to do the big boy job of my full time job, so I had to work
Yes.
overnight. So didn't
Oh,
really do
wow.
much, but that's okay. Halloween. I'm iffy on Halloween. If I'm
I
available,
am
good.
too. It was so fun. Exactly. It was so fun during college and like growing up and trick or treating. And
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like as an adult, if you don't really have like a party to go to or you don't have kids, it's kind of like, what do you really do on Halloween?
right,
And
right.
a lot of
In
my
that
friends in
vein.
Dallas were doing stuff that I could have done, but we literally flew back on Halloween. And I was like, I don't want to go to USC homecoming in a costume. So I'm good.
Totally awesome.
But well, I'm
Totally
glad you're
understand
doing
that.
well. It's nice to finally somewhat meet you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You look fantastic, by the way. Just want to throw that out there as well. Um,
Thank you.
you are
I'm
very
like
welcome.
half asleep right now. It's so cold and rainy outside. I'm like, whew, it is freezing outside today. So
Yes, it
gonna try
is.
and pump up the energy.
Absolutely. Listen, well, let's get to it. We're both California products, and I want you to talk
All right.
about look a little bit about you growing up. Did you play any sports? Did you do anything in high school? Did you have any inspirations that you kind of looked up to in the sports field? And how did you gravitate towards a career in sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll kind of answer that first part and then the second. So I grew up, gosh, I played soccer, softball. I played basketball with the boys at recess because I was always really tall. So I grew up playing a lot of sports, but I think the sport that I stuck to the most was dance. I know it's kind of controversial. Is it a sport? Is it not a sport? But I did dance my entire life from the time I was, gosh, 2 or 3 through high school and a little bit in college. So I danced competitively through elementary school, through high school. I just loved it. And I did so many different types of dance. And I really enjoyed, cheering at football games and basketball games and just being a big part of like the game day experience, which I
Right.
think is so fun because that really translates into my job now. So I've always just been around sports, whether it's been through cheering on teams in my schools for dance. My grandpa actually played baseball for the Phillies. He was a right-handed pitcher back in the 50s, and my dad was a
Wow.
pitcher. So I feel like I just kind of grew up in the baseball world. I loved going to Angels games. It's actually really funny. My Slack profile picture right now is a picture of me at an Angels game when I was probably 2 or 3 with just these big rosy cheeks and a little Angels hat. I mean, I just loved baseball. So that was a
Right.
really natural fit for my on-air career that I have now. To be honest, it's actually kind of a sad story. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, heading into my senior year of high school. And everyone has, their dream jobs, what they think they're going to do. And I never really knew what that was going to be for me.
Right.
And unfortunately, one of my childhood friends, who was my neighbor, tragically passed away. He was actually one of the Granite 19 hotshots that was killed in Arizona. So that was a huge nationwide and even worldwide story that so many people were looped in about. And it was on the news,
Hmm.
it was everywhere. And so we were around reporters every single day. They were coming to our homes. We were
Right.
seeing them around Still Beach, where I'm from. And I was interviewed so many times because I was so close with Kevin, the firefighter that passed away. And I did so many interviews and I met so many different reporters. And in a weird way, this really hard time in my life just showed me what I wanted to do one day as a career. And I just learned that I love telling stories and I loved people and meeting people and, sharing what's going on in their lives. And I learned that it was actually a career path. It was crazy. It was kind of a blessing. But there was one day right after Kevin passed that I did an interview for a local news station and I went
Yeah.
home and I thought, wow, that would be such a cool job to have one day. I would love to do something like that. And then I started scrolling through Instagram, and one of my friends, Roma, who I believe is with Fox News now, posted on Instagram that she got into Chapman University into their broadcast program. So
Yeah.
I think it was just a sign from God that was like, you want to do this. This is how you can study it in school. It's actually a major. This is something you can pursue.
Yeah.
So once I realized that I could be on camera, I could study broadcast journalism, but also share my love for storytelling and sports, everything just kind of came together hand in hand.
Nah, that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, the story is definitely a little sad, but at the same time, it's kind of cool that it kind of has a positive spin towards it and how it led you to down your career path and how you chose and your why of getting into sports. You kind of been around it. It's been in your family, and you've been around it pretty much your entire life. We're definitely going to talk about a little bit later on. I know you started a dance free to be me kind of a program thing, and I definitely want to talk about that, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later on. But first, you did mention that you are from we mentioned you're from California, and you went to University of Southern Cal. Now, I
Yes.
would like to know, were there any other colleges that could have persuaded you from going to Southern Cal?
Ooh, that's a great question. So obviously, like you touched on, we both grew up in Southern California. And it's actually really funny. My mom went to UCLA. So growing up, I always rooted
Oh
for
wow.
USC just to make my mom mad, which is horrible, but that's just how I was. And so I always loved USC, kind of despite my mom, but also because I just loved it. One of my very, very best friends and her whole family went there. And so I guess she didn't go there. She went to USD, but the rest of her family went there. And I just kind of loved USC from a very young age. And I always had aspirations to go there. But I was really in between USC and Chapman just because they both had wonderful journalism programs. I also actually, which was funny enough, I looked at TCU. I didn't actually go and visit, but I was looking at the campus online and seeing what they had to offer. And
Okay.
so many California kids end up in a Texas school program for the most part, which is so funny. So I actually did get into TCU for sports broadcasting. And now that I live in Dallas, I would have absolutely loved it. But at that time in my life, I just wasn't ready to move out of state away from my family. So USC for me was the most natural fit. But as far as other schools go, I would say Chapman and TCU were probably the next contenders for sure.
It's pretty cool. I like that. TCU and Chapman. I mean, USC is a great journalism school. Definitely one of my
Yes, it was
choices for
amazing.
a master's program. I'm thinking about doing my master's
Yes,
in
they have a
journalism.
great program.
So absolutely. I love that. Okay, Hannah, what I want to do, I want to ask you some favorite questions. So you just tell me
Okay,
some of your favorite things based upon these questions. Okay.
sounds good.
All right. Favorite music genre.
Country. I've always loved it, not just because I live in Texas. I've always loved country,
Right.
probably since like the early days in high school. So country for sure.
Okay. Is there an artist or two that you like?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Cody Johnson, Riley Green, Morgan Wallen, just kind of like all the country staple guys. But I actually just went to a Cole Swindell concert 2 weekends ago, and it was really fun.
Wow. Yes, I know the name Morgan Wallen. He's really good. He came on to me kind of strong. Luke Combs as well. Somebody that
Yes,
definitely came on strong to me as well. So
love
being over
Luke.
here in the South, definitely have to listen to that for sure. Let's see. Favorite movie genre?
Oh my gosh, comedy. I always say that my favorite movie is Step Brothers, which I feel like people probably see me or on Instagram or they meet me and they don't assume that, but that's my favorite movie hands down. I'm obsessed with it. It's so funny.
That's crazy that you say that, Hannah, because I've had conversations via this way with multiple people, and that movie seems to get mentioned more than any other movie as far as one of their favorite movies, Step Brothers. And to be honest with you, I've never seen it. I've never,
Really? You
yeah,
definitely should.
I've never seen it. So I'm really, it's on the bucket list to check it out. That's for sure. Okay.
Should.
Favorite
Definitely.
meal you like to cook?
Ooh. That I cook or that someone else cooks for me?
That you like to cook?
Okay. Well, I've definitely gotten better at cooking since I've moved here. I really like to make it's really, really easy, but it's a honey garlic chicken with potatoes and green beans. You just put it on a cookie sheet, you put everything together and you bake it. It's super easy and really good.
That sounds damn good. I like that. Okay, but what's the meal that what's your favorite meal that someone else cooks that you like to eat?
I love Tex-Mex. That's my favorite thing. That's not why I moved to Texas, but it was definitely big in the persuading process. I love queso. I love fajitas and margaritas, all that kind of stuff. So anything that falls underneath the Tex-Mex umbrella is probably my favorite.
All right, you definitely want my heart there. Anything Mexican food or Italian, I'm with you. That's for sure.
Yes,
Okay,
same.
okay, I like that. Favorite place you ever traveled to?
Ooh, hit me with the tough questions. I would say probably the most unique place I've ever been to has been Iceland, but my favorite places are between Maui and Cabo.
Cabo San Lucas is something different, ain't it? It's
Yes.
something different. Yes, I've been
Yes,
there.
it's so much.
Iceland. Wow, that's a hell of
Yeah.
a place to go to. How long was you there for?
I just had a really long layover there when I went to Europe, so I think I was there for only 24 hours, but, I
Oh,
went to the Blue Lagoon and drove around Reykjavik. I don't even know how to pronounce it, to be perfectly honest. They have so many long names there, but, drove around the main city there, and it was just a really cool and unique place.
that's awesome. I like that. Okay, couple more. Favorite sport you like to play, but also favorite sport you like to watch.
Well, my favorite sport to watch is baseball, and I do watch quite a bit of it. But I would say my favorite sport to play is tennis. I actually grew up playing tennis. I forgot to mention that earlier. That was definitely the sport that I played the most growing up. So they called me Hannah Kornikova back in the day. So I would say
Anna
tennis is my favorite
Kournikova.
sport to play and baseball to watch.
I like that. Okay, okay, I like that. So were you more of a powerful serve? Were you a net person? How was your game? How's your tennis game?
Honestly, it's not great anymore, but when I was playing consistently, I was pretty good. I was actually between playing tennis in high school and sticking with dance, and I ended up choosing dance. But I was actually pretty good back in the day. I had a good serve, and I was pretty consistent with all my shots on the court. So that was really fun, and I really enjoyed playing. I wish I would have stuck with it longer, honestly, but it was really fun.
That's all right. Now you kind of play it for leisurely, I'm guessing, at times, whenever you get a chance to.
Every now and then, whenever I go home, I try and go play with my dad at least once or twice. And then actually in Cabo, we had a pickleball tournament, and I was not very good at that, but I just have to keep practicing and get back into the swing of things.
That's awesome. That really is. Now, while you was in University of Southern California, what internships did you do, and what did you learn from those internships that you now carry to your job in Texas Rangers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, my first internship in college was, oh gosh, I had so many different ones.
Mhm.
I actually interned for the mayor of LA, so Mayor Garcetti. One of my professors worked in his communications department, so I did some
Wow.
social media for him.
Yeah.
That internship was great. I learned a lot about social media, but I learned that I probably wouldn't want to work in politics one day. But it was still really great, wonderful opportunity that I'm glad that I'd had. Then my junior year, I interned at Fox Sports. So I was actually a production intern on Speak for Yourself. And at the time,
Oh,
the
wow.
co-hosts were Jason Whitlock and Colin Coward. So that was really fun to work with them. I remember going to 7 a.m. production meetings on the other side of LA and just getting 2 giant coffees from Starbucks to stay awake. So I just learned so much there about production, and it truly does take a village to produce a show, and just
Yeah.
the sacrifices you make to work in the sports world. So I learned a ton from that, and I'm so grateful to the Fox family for having me. And then my senior year, I interned at Fox Sports West, which is probably the most pivotal internship I had, which is now Bally Sports West.
Yeah.
But I learned so much from them. I did a lot of social media from them. That's actually where I learned about the role that I actually have now, because they had two digital hosts at the time, Carlin Baith and Taylor Felix. And so I got to shadow them and learn more about what they were doing. And that really just taught me so much about social media and this ever changing digital world. But most importantly, it taught me that I could still have a career and role on camera, but not work in a lower market and work my way up doing local news.
Right. Well, no, those are fabulous internships, and I'm glad that you mentioned that one that you had outside of sports, because it's always good to kind of test the waters and see what you may like and what
Yes.
you may not like. So that's pretty cool. I love that.
Yes. It was really fun.
Tell me about your actual role with the Texas Rangers. I know it says in-game host and then digital media, but what exactly do you do on a game day, and then what do you do on a non-game day? I'm sure they
Yes,
differentiate a little bit.
they do. That's a really great question. So I'll kind of give you the whole umbrella of my role, and then I'll do game day and non-game day. So I call myself a Swiss Army knife. I probably have 6 or 7 different roles that fall underneath my belt. So I'm obviously our digital host. So I host and write scripts for and just do a lot of things behind the scenes for content that you'll see on the Rangers social media pages and our YouTube
Yeah.
channel and different things like that. So that ranges from things like Rangers Roundup, where I tell you before every homestand who we're playing and the promo items and the theme nights and all that good stuff, kind of what to know before you come to the ballpark. And then something else I did this past year was a series called Sup, and that was more of a monthly series that touched on player personality and highlights. And there were just a lot of different wonderful things I was able to do this year. And we also did something called Around the Globe that touched on the new ballpark and everything that was inside and outside of it, so people knew what to expect when they got here. So that was a lot of fun to be a part of. So digital hosting is obviously my main role in addition to in-game hosting. So I'm our pre-game host every single home game. It's been so much fun. And I
Mm.
occasionally do hits during the games as well. So I'll talk about our Junior Rangers Club and promo items and the authentics item of the game and things like that. So that was really, really awesome live experience for me this past year. And I was so
Oh
glad I
yeah.
was able to finally do it. I've been wanting to do it for so long. And then I'm also a social media coordinator. So there were some games where I would host pregame, a couple innings during the game, and then go up to the press box and cover the game on Ranger Social. So there are 4 members of the Ranger social media team. So between the 4 of us, we divide and conquer games, content creation, posting content, scheduling content, things like that. And then I also oversee all of our influencer marketing efforts. So campaign creation, finding the influencers, outreach, the legal agreements, campaign and content execution, anything
Wow.
that goes into it. So I really enjoyed doing that as well. And then I also worked a lot on our first Rangers podcast called the Straight Up Texas podcast. And so I knew nothing about podcasting ahead of this year. I've been on a few in the past, but I learned so much about everything behind the scenes, and I would book the talent, work with MLB to get it posted, and copywriting and all of that. So learned a lot from that. And then finally, I started our first ever Texas Rangers College Brand Ambassador program. So we were the first MLB team to ever do something like this. And I just felt so badly for everyone that was in college that wanted a sports internship, and there was nothing out there because of COVID. So
Right.
I came up with an idea about a year ago that I wanted to implement something where it was a minimal time commitment. They could still be a part of our front office and learn about the different people within it. So we did different professional development calls every month with executives to learn about their jobs, how they got to where they are today. We did an in-person marketing team lunch, and I had them out to games, and they'd post on social media and all these different things. So
Yeah.
that's about my job. There's so many different things. So again, I like being busy, and for me it's the perfect balance of a lot of different things. So I'm always doing something different. So I guess on a game day, I'll come in around 11. I'll prep my in-game scripts for the game that night.
Yeah.
I'll handle any influencer communication or things that are needed last minute for ticket fulfillment. Gosh, every day is so different, which makes it so fun. And then, oh my gosh,
On a
then I'll probably
non-game
go.
day.
Yes. So I'll go to the production meeting around 5, and then go over everything with the entertainment crew that night, host the game. And like I said earlier, sometimes I'll go up to the press box during the game and then do social media for the remaining part of the game. And then just throughout the day, I mean, it's always different. Sometimes I'm helping out with social media content
Yeah.
and again, a lot of the influencer and social media stuff. So a lot of it's just balancing and managing your time well. And then on a non-game day, that's when I try to catch up on emails, schedule out content, prep any other scripts I have for like series shoots, like I mentioned earlier for Rangers Roundup and things like that. A
Yeah,
lot of times we'll shoot those types of more produced elements when the team's on the road. So yeah, I mean, every day's different. That's why I love it. It's just always crazy busy and always something to do. So I'm very list oriented and very organized, which has really helped me a lot. But yeah, no 2 days are alike, and that's why I love this industry.
absolutely. And listen, you obviously wear a lot of many hats, wear many hats, do many different jobs, like you stated before. You do such an incredible job. I follow you on social
You.
media with the Instagram, and I see what you're doing. I see the outfits that you be wearing, and then the things that you be, because you're really interactive on the social media, which is great, which is awesome. It's really
Thank
cool.
you. I try.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's really cool to hear that you do that because people see you on camera and they really don't know how hard you actually be working behind the scenes. They see the face, they see energy, you're energetic, but it's like, man, it can get a little bit tiring as well. But when you love what you do, you don't call it work. I mean, I've heard that phrase before. So
Exactly. Yes,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I
absolutely.
honestly drink probably a Celsius every game day just to have enough energy to power through and knock everything out. So those have saved my life for sure, especially during season.
I understand. I totally get that. I was in Houston, Texas, just late September, early October, also attending a career fair. The Texas Rangers was there.
Nice.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers. It was one representative from the Texas Rangers, and it was like the line was so long, it was so long to get to because there's only one representative. But I was so intrigued because I was thinking about you with that. But I'm like, okay, Hannah is there. She's working as the in-game musical host. I'm thinking they might start talking about maybe like communications because that's what my degree is in. My degree is in journalism, communication. But it was just ticket. It was just ticket sales. So I was like,
Oh, gotcha.
okay, I
Yep.
got you. I was like, all right, that's cool. Thank
It's
you, sir.
crazy. There are so many different departments. And I mean, our front office is made up of hundreds of people, and we all have so many different roles and responsibilities. And I feel
Yeah,
like in the role that I'm in, I pretty much work with every department in some way, shape, or form. So it has made me realize how many different and amazing, talented people that we have that have so many different skill sets. And, we really do keep the team rolling and going on every single year. And it's crazy. I mean, so much goes into every season on top of the pandemic. So the last couple of years, we've had some curveballs thrown our way. No baseball pun intended, but we have a really great and wonderful front office, and they're like my family.
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's a guarantee that you're going to work 81 games a year, at least, if the team doesn't make the postseason or not. But at least 81 games. That's a lot of games to work, a lot of work to do. And like I said, you do an amazing job. I know I've been following you
Thank you.
for some time. No question, no
Thank
doubt.
you.
But great segue because now I want to talk about your work life and social life balance. Now, obviously, baseball goes from February, where it starts in spring training. It can go all the way up into October, about 7.5 months, almost 8 months. And if longer, if you're in postseason, it could be 9. So from November to February, it's off season. However, you work very hard during the season. You obviously are a very personable person, easy to talk to. I would hang out with you, that's for sure.
Thank
But
you.
you got to have also that balance of work life, social life, because you don't want to get burnt out. You also got to maintain good mental health. Like you said, you went to California, saw your family. I'm sure you have friends there in Texas. And you also need some Hannah time too. You got to have some time to yourself, I would think. So, how do you balance your work life, social life, and also maintain good mental health?
That's a really great question. Gosh, I told myself, and I've actually had a lot of conversations with one of my really close friends who's also in the industry about this. And we are so tired. It is a very long season, but I made a promise to myself that no matter how tired I am, I will push through. I will still maintain a social life. I need to see my friends. So a lot of times I'll have my friends come to the game. It's like I'm already going to be here working, so I might as well have my friends come to the game and
Yeah,
come out and show their support, and I'll get to hang out with them for a few innings and go see them. So I feel like during this season, and I have really great and wonderful supportive friends. And so I have them come out to games, we'll grab dinner. especially when the team's on the road, I really try to focus on going to Pilates classes and seeing my friends. And I'm also in a long distance relationship and my boyfriend's in Houston. So people
Oh,
must think,
okay.
oh, you're both in the same state. You must see each other all the time. And we do, but that also is an additional effort. So he's been wonderful during this season, coming and saying, coming up to Dallas and coming to games with me. Like there are no joke weekends when it's during a homestand and he'll come up on Friday and leave on Sunday. And all we do is just come to the ballpark and he follows me around during my in-game hits and goes and sits with his friends at the game. And that's kind of our time together. So you really do have to make sacrifices to be in this industry. But I really prioritize, going to events in Dallas and seeing friends and maintaining those relationships in the off season. And again, just I live by my Outlook calendar. I schedule everything. I have so many things color coded of when I'm traveling because that's such a big important part of the off season
Yeah.
and when I'm seeing family and who I'm seeing when. And it's crazy. I mean, I just type up a list of all the people that I want to see during the off season. And just as a reminder, like, okay, when I have a free day, like, let's see if this person's around or if I can go, knock out this errand or this event. So a lot of it's just time management, but also knowing in my heart that in order for me to be the best version of myself, that I have to spend time with my friends, with my boyfriend, with my family, and just be a well-rounded person, not just work all the time.
Yeah, that's pretty important. And it's also good to have a good hierarchy of bosses that understand that too. Because sometimes you work in places and they may not prioritize your mental health at first. So it's great to have some bosses that actually do care about that. And like I said, you're a planner. I'm a planner. You obviously know that because I sent you multiple dates and times
Yes.
to be able to do that. And that's how I got to live my life as well. I have to plan ahead. I have to do that because I have so many things planned up as far as spending time with family, with friends, traveling as well, because I love to travel, but
Yes.
also have my work stuff as well going on too. So I totally understand that. But that's it's really good. You talked about Pilates, getting away, talked about going to concerts. Me myself, I love hiking. I love going on trails. I love writing
Nice.
poetry. I love doing things of that nature to kind of take my mind off full time work, but also sports writing as well. So totally understand that. That's a really
Good
beautiful
for you.
way.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
something I really try to prioritize in the off season is I have a blog that I run. It's called hannahwing.com. And I don't really have like crazy deadlines or things like that that I put on myself. But for me, it's just a really fun and creative outlet to, work with different brands in Dallas. And, my brain is just sports, 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 baseball, baseball all day long. So it's really fun for me to have an outlet to talk about getting a blowout or getting my makeup done or talking about fashion brands or events or
right.
things in Dallas. So for me, it's really important to have obviously like the grind in the office every day, but also after work, I try to do like one thing after work every day, whether it's for myself or seeing friends or going to an event or just doing something that, isn't necessarily Rangers related, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Absolutely. It's how you keep your sanity. If you was around baseball all the time, I mean, it'd be like, damn. You probably try to run out the door and get away from it. But it's good that you have an outlet where you know, okay, this is my job, this is what I do, but it's not who I am, right? So
Mhm.
I'm Hannah Wing. I'm still a person that loves to go out and be with friends and family and do my thing accordingly, but also love my job as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very lucky.
I want to do this or that. Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna throw a couple things at you, and then you just pick one or the other.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Movies, theaters, or drive-in theaters?
Ooh, drive-in. I haven't been to one in a minute, but I feel like that's more fun.
Yes, without question. I don't understand people need movie theaters. Drive-ins are much more fun. That's just me being biased. Though. I love driving. MJ or LeBron?
Hmm. They're both awesome.
Yep.
I would say MJ.
You would say what?
MJ.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Didn't catch that. Okay,
No, you're
MJ.
good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're both awesome.
Yeah, it's 51-49. You know, you really can't go wrong with either one. But you know, on this show, you have to pick one. Okay, so MJ, I got you. Brady or Montana?
Brady.
Got you. Dallas or Los Angeles?
Ooh, I actually get this one a lot. I love my friends in LA dearly. I miss them. I loved USC, But LA was not the place I envisioned myself staying forever. Maybe it'll happen one day, you never know. But for right now, I love Dallas. So I would say Dallas.
Okay, got you. I like it. Um, Popeyes or KFC?
KFC.
Okay, okay,
I
I
used to
like
love
that.
KFC. I loved KFC when I was younger. So I would say KFC. I was
Okay, all
obsessed with
right.
it. Yeah, I would
You
love it.
definitely in the minority with that. I would say that. That's
I
definitely
know.
in the minority.
Everybody loves Popeyes now. I grew up and after every dance class, I'd be like, Mom, can we go to KFC? Or Mom, can we go to Carl's Jr.? So I just grew up eating like the KFC mashed potato bowls. So I
That's a
fell in love with
throwback.
that.
Carl's Jr. I like that. Yeah, no, not too many people know about that Carl's Jr. That's for sure. Um, Softball or both?
Bowling,
Hmm. Basketball or football?
football.
This is chicken wings, so it's flavors I'm gonna give to you.
Okay.
Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Barbecue. I'm in Texas now. I have to say barbecue.
That is true. That is very true. I like it. I like how decisive you are with these. This is pretty good. Okay, this is the last one here. Would you
I'm
rather
usually
do
indecisive. I feel like I have to make a choice.
right? Absolutely. Would you rather be reporting in front of the camera or would you rather be behind the scenes?
Oh, in front of the camera, 100%.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that. I like that. You did well on this and that. You really did. Now, you were a dance teacher, and we mentioned this. Free to be me was the I believe the program that you were teaching to kids.
Yes.
What
Yes.
made you want to pursue that as a hobby to do?
That's a great question. So, actually, I guess a hobby I forgot to mention earlier, and it's not really a hobby, but something I'm involved with in Dallas is Best Buddies. And it's been the most amazing thing. So, I've always had a big heart for people that have disabilities and special needs. And so, I grew up dancing, like I mentioned earlier, and I've always been really passionate about, working with those that do have special needs. And I came across a documentary online, and it was actually for Free to Be Me. And it highlighted this dance program for kids and young adults that have Down syndrome.
Yeah,
And I was watching it at like 2 a.m. one night, just bawling my eyes out. And I was like, I have to be involved in this. I don't know what
right.
capacity. I was about to start college up in LA. And I just reached out to them and I said, I saw your documentary. I'm very touched by what you've put together and what your program is. I would love to be involved, whether it's as a volunteer, as a teacher, whatever that may be. And they got back to me and I did a phone call with them and just touched base and I went and I met up with them and just learned what it was about. And I went every Sunday as often as I could throughout my 4 years up in LA. And it was just so amazing. And no matter what I was dealing with that week and how stressful classes got and how many assignments I had, it was just like
Yeah,
2 hours of just bliss and pure joy and therapy. And, it just really puts everything in a perspective. And these kids just have the biggest smiles on their faces. And they were always just so happy and giving hugs. And it was just a really powerful lesson for me too, to just to learn from them and, just learn a lot about myself through teaching them. And it taught me patience and, just how meaningful life is every day. And it was just one of the most amazing things I ever did. And I would love to open something like that in Texas one day.
yeah, that sounds amazing. It really does. It goes to show you that no matter what you're going through, there's always somebody that has it just a little bit worse. But it also really shows your heart as well. If you was willing to devote your time to kids that were less fortunate than yourself, and bring a smile to their face by doing something that you truly love and that they love, right? Because dance is what you really love. I do hope that you do something like that in Dallas. That would be awesome. That would be amazing. Um, I want to ask you because we kind of went through everything as far as what you did internship wise and what you do with the Texas Rangers. But I'm sure that you probably have had some challenges along the way. And I want to ask you, what are some of those challenges that you have faced while being in this industry? And I want to set up this question because one, there's not enough women in sport communicative roles, right? They can't be overstated enough. We definitely need more women in these roles. And sometimes, uh, for instance, as you saw with the baseball thing, ESPN blew up the point of the all female broadcast. Right, we had that with the Baltimore Orioles with the five ladies, but we also had Melanie Newman and we had Jessica Mendoza call a game. which was the Padres and the Dodgers, and they made a huge deal about it. And then once they made a huge deal about it, it kind of just went away. So it's kind of like a PR kind of stunt almost, in my opinion. But that's kind of one of the challenges that, i.e., example that I see. But what kind of challenges have you personally went through being in this industry, and how have you overcome it?
Yeah, that's a great question. There was an instance in college that I don't really talk about too often, but I was basically in Arizona. I was wearing a dress. It was hot outside. My dress was appropriate, in my opinion. I asked my friends before I went to work that day, and everyone thought it was appropriate. And I got a call from a random number saying I needed to go and change. And that was really my first moment in the industry when I realized this would never happen to a male broadcaster or a male intern or anyone else that probably wasn't a young female. And
Right,
I felt really targeted. I know that at the end of the day, they probably just had my best interest and thought it wasn't appropriate. And to this
right,
day, like, I still don't know why that happened because it was completely fine. And everyone I asked said that it was a fine outfit to wear.
right,
But that for me was a really, really hard day. And there had been some other things that day that had gone on that weren't in my favor, and just people noticing that I was a young woman as an intern in sports, and they thought they could take advantage of situations. And my naiveness, like, I was told I could go into the clubhouse when I wasn't supposed to be there, and I got yelled at, but no one told me that I wasn't allowed to be in there. And the security guard that I asked was laughing in my face after and was like, "Super little girl, you should have known better." And it's like, I'm a young female breaking into this industry, and if this is how it's going to be the whole time, I
right,
want nothing to do with it. But I was just
right,
so passionate about where I wanted to be one day and what I wanted to accomplish that I just use that as fuel to move me forward. And it makes me take a look in the mirror, a couple extra times every day now, making sure that I always look appropriate and I'm always putting my best foot forward. But that day to me was crushing. I mean, I think there were 3 or 4 things that went on that day that made me question if I really want to do this as a career, because it was really, really tough. But ever since then, I mean, I know that I'm obviously viewed differently than probably most people. I mean, I'm a 6 foot blonde and I have a huge personality. So I know that I'm probably looked at differently than most people out there, most likely. But at the end of the day, all I can do is just prove my worth, work really, really hard, show my knowledge for the team I'm working for, show my knowledge of baseball, and
right.
just show my work ethic and who I am on the inside and why I'm here. And I feel like in a way it just makes me work a little bit harder to try and prove why I'm here and
Right.
why I need to stay and why I deserve to, grow within the company. So, but everything at the Rangers has been amazing. They're a wonderful organization. We have so many strong women. I have amazing mentors, and everything here has been so wonderful, and they welcomed me with open arms. And it's just been really awesome to learn from other women in the industry. And I think it's so awesome that ESPN allowed them to do an all-female broadcast. And I hope that, that's not just a one-time thing and that just becomes the new normal. But I think we
Yeah.
do have a ways to go, but I think that things are definitely getting better. And I just hope that, my experiences in my past are things that will help people one day and inspire young women that, there might be some bumps in the road, but you can still get to where you want to be one day. And it's all worth it in the end.
Without question. What a great answer. You gave great answers to all the questions that I asked so far.
Thank you.
Terrific, no doubt, no doubt. No, I really do feel what you're saying. And I asked that question because of the fact that, yes, that seems to happen more often than not. It's unfortunate that it does. And listen, you've already proven your worth by working hard and wearing as many hats as you want to. But like I want to state again, people from the outside, they just see you on camera. They see the 6 foot blonde. They see the pretty face. They see the pretty person on camera. Even if people that's standing right next to you that really don't take the time to talk to you and know you, they just see you as, an object at times, and that's really not cool because you are knowledgeable about the game. You do your job very well, and it's not about just how you look on camera. You also do stuff off camera as well. You do a lot of things off camera. So, and it's good that you pointed that situation out because it allowed you to not even look at that like it's a hurdle. It just look at you, just fueled you. Like you said, you used it as motivation. You didn't look at it as a serious negative. You was like, well, wow, this keeps happening. But you understood that that's probably was just some one-offs. And that's what it always is in the industry. Somebody is always going to have something to say. There's always going to be a troll. There's always going to be
Exactly.
somebody, whether it's male or female. There's going to be a troll
Well,
out there that's going to
especially
say, you said what?
especially in social media. Sorry not to interrupt, but Something else I've learned just being a female in the industry is like people on social media are horrible. Like they would never say the things they say to me to guys that are, male broadcasters or male hosts. I mean, the feedback that I get about my makeup or my hair
Right.
or all these crazy different things that people find and they just nitpick and nitpick. And I don't take any of that personally. But again, that's another example of like how we're just treated a little bit differently than the males. And I'm not saying that they're perfect all the time and get all this great feedback. And like, I'm sure they have trolls too, but
Yeah.
just being a female and putting yourself out there for some reason on the internet, people just like to attack you even more. So,
Because that's all they can do. Because they'll never say it to you face to face. They have to say it over a computer. They have to type something because those are what trolls are. If they ever saw you in person, they would never or knew who you was in person. It would be the complete opposite. They would never say that. But I'm really happy that you shared that experience and really happy how you bounced back and just took control of that and said, listen, I'm gonna show you why this job was given to me. And I'm gonna continue to prove that not only do I love this job, I'm gonna keep giving out great content and doing great work. So I love that. I really do. I wanna know,
yeah.
you are very welcome, Ken Williams. Um, I wanna know, give me your top four if you can label them down, your top four stories that you would like to do in your career, in your sports career.
Ooh, wow, that's a great question. Like player specific or just like general things I want to cover?
General things you want to cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I would love to cover a World Series game that the Rangers are in. I think that would just be so cool. I
Mm.
think within the next 5 years, we'll get pretty close. We have some really good prospects, and
You said
hopefully, we have
5 years.
a playoff. What?
You said 5 years.
I would say 5 is generous. Hopefully, sooner than that, just because we're such a young team. But we have a lot of really exciting guys to watch. So the next few years are going to be really fun to see who comes up and all of
Gotcha.
that. So that's been awesome.
Okay.
I would love to cover Jack Leiter's debut whenever that happens. People are just so excited about him, and he's an awesome guy. So we'd love to cover that.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard. The other two, I feel like I've already done. I mean, telling the story of opening the new ballpark was a dream come true. That's been really, really cool to be a part of. And the last one, I guess we'll just see what happens. I mean, I don't really have like gold content in my head. I guess it's just kind of rolling with the punches and seeing what happens. But I would definitely say 1 is World Series, 2 is Leiter's debut, 3 has already happened, but the ballpark story, and then 4, I guess we'll just
Yeah.
see what happens.
Never been to Arlington, Texas ballpark yet. I really do want to go because I love going to different ballparks. My favorite ballpark I've been to so far is Great American in Cincinnati. That's probably my favorite one so far, but I'm definitely planning a trip to the Rangers ballpark in 2022. I only say 5 years because it is uh, so tough to get to the World Series, especially being in that West Division with the
Yes.
Astros, Mariners.
It's
It's very tough.
I will say though, it was super cool having the World Series here last postseason. I mean, we didn't know what's happening until weeks before, but having the World Series here was really, really awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to get you out of here on this last question, which is advice. What advice has someone given you, or you have allocated to someone about being in this sports media industry field that you hold on dearly to?
I would say, gosh, I get this question a lot, and I feel like I've given so many different answers, but I feel like the most impactful one I can share, especially being a young female in this industry, is just trying to not be perfect. And that's advice that I need to take myself because
Okay.
obviously with social media, it's so easy to play the comparison game and, see what this person's doing and you're the same age and comparing, jobs and lives and outfits on Instagram. I mean, just every single detail is out there for the
Right.
world to see now.
Right.
So I would say the biggest advice is just be yourself and stay true to that and just don't try to fit the mold of what you think a sports broadcaster, reporter, host looks like and just make it your own because then you'll stand out from the rest of the pack.
I like that. I do. I felt like I've learned a lot about you. Attending Angel games, a
Yes.
dance instructor from USC, like barbecue and KFC. Uh,
Yes.
I feel like I've learned a lot
Breaking news.
about
Well, thank you so much for having me. That was awesome.
No doubt. Thank you for coming on to the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. Once again, I am following you on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me back if you'd like to. And I always conclude my conversations like this. Is there anything else you would like to add before we?
I don't think so. If anyone ever has any questions, feel free to DM me. I try to check them as much as I can, but I could get better. So that's one thing I'm working on this off season. But I'm always, I love helping other people in sports that want to get into this industry and answer questions and taking that time. So feel free to DM me or email me or whatever that may be. And I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. But thank you again for
Absolutely.
having me. I had
No
so much
doubt.
fun.
No doubt. Take care. We will stay in touch.
For
Enjoy the
sure.
rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, man. Bye bye.
Bye.